What's good, Bolt fam? Volt fam. We're not talking Tennessee Volunteer
High
fans.
voltage, that's all.
No, God, I've got to talk about that too. I'm Booga Peterson. Welcome to BoltBlitz Uncut. I'm your host and joined by our other host, because she doesn't need to be a co-host. She also hosts the Electric Edge podcast. But my additional host, Taylor Bloom, is here to join us this evening. It's Wednesday. Happy hump day. And thanks for the little forgiving, if you will, with the hiccup to the intro. Let's talk about everything. There's so much going on with the Chargers and the NFL. It's almost important time, as we like to say during the offseason. March 4th, That's when it used to be called the legal tampering period. I love that they changed that shit. Like, oh, we can't make it sound like what it is. And a week later, it seems as though the league year will start as far as it comes to free agency on March 11th at, I believe, 4 p.m. Pacific time. But Taylor, let's back up a little bit. Thank you for joining me, of course,
Absolutely.
as you do every Wednesday. Joe Hortiz Presser thoughts. We saw him at the Combine the last 2 days, and there's been a lot of information we can glean from those interviews. But for the folks out there who have yet to see those interviews, your initial thoughts and anything that kind of stood out to you regarding Hortiz and what he had to say regarding the upcoming 26 season.
Yeah, there's a couple things. First off, I think it sounds like Joe Hortiz is going to take care of his guys first. And by his guys, I mean internal Chargers free agents. You know, a guy like Zion Johnson is going to be a top priority, I think, for Joe Hortiz to take care of him next week. Adafe Owe, another guy. So he made it very clear that the Chargers are going to prioritize their internal free agents first before looking elsewhere to fill gaps. The second thing is he was very enthusiastic talking about Keenan Allen. I am not convinced, though, that Keenan Allen's still going to be a Charger next year. So it was great to hear him talk positive and all the great things Keenan did for us. And I couldn't agree more, but I'm just still not convinced he's going to be part of the roster in 26.
I'll get to Keenan in a second. Let's go to Zion Johnson, because I know everybody wants to talk about that. Boy, that price tag's going to be high. Is there a cutoff for you in your mind? And maybe Hortiz doesn't have one, because as you mentioned, it's very clear, at least from what I saw and what you saw, they're still going to stick to that Chargers mantra, regardless of the fact that it's a now a third-year regime of Harbaugh and Hortiz. But they're really going to try to take care of their own first, similar to what Hortiz and company, Eric DeCosta, did in Baltimore. That Zion price tag is a little bit scary. Aaron Banks, last year, the Niners signed him to $19.25 million contract, at least for the first year. Your thoughts on what Zion Johnson's going to garner in the free agent market, and do the Chargers and Joe Hortiz / Harbaugh, do they let him even get to that point?
Yeah, so Daniel Popper had put out information on The Athletic about what he thought the Zion range may be, and the figure was around $20 million, which I think is an extreme overpay for Zion. But I know how much Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz and that coaching staff love Zion. So I think they're going to get a deal done next week. My guess is, Joe Hortiz says they get back from Indy Sunday. They're going to meet Monday and talk about everything. I think by midweek next week, you may hear some news that Zion got an offer to re-sign with the Chargers. Now, you sign him at $20 million, that's going to affect the other free agents that you want to sign externally from the Chargers,
Especially at the center position. Yeah. We'll get to him soon, I'm sure.
Yep. So I think a deal does get done just because of how they talk about him. We had talked about scheme fit with Mike McDaniel. I think Zion is number one on their list to get signed. I think it's as early as next week.
I think it's important that you brought up that the next to last point too, as far as scheme fit. He's not exactly great for that gap scheme that Greg Roman and his offense required, but in a Mike McDaniel offense, it does to some degree accentuate what Zion does well. He's very athletic. He can actually move, and he's weirdly strong. For those of you who are confuse that for an inability to block. He can block when put in the right position, and I look forward to see what McDaniel can do with him, because I have to almost sadly agree with Taylor. I expect Zion to listen. It's weird for a guy, for anybody, who mocked him to the Chargers and got it right and was so excited, hey, I got another one right. But the Zion Johnson pick out of Boston College was literally, for me, the most obvious draft selection the Chargers have ever made. Now, this regime is not the regime that drafted him. That being said, if they can find a way to get a deal done before free agency, in other words, this is going to hurt. That $17 million deal off a couple, $2-3 million. Man, it's going to be hard to turn down, but there's no telling how he's actually going to play out in this scheme of Mike McDaniels until he actually does it. As much as I agree with you, there's a part of me that has a serious amount of trepidation when it comes to bringing Zion back. There were so many times, and it's easy to blame it all on Bozeman.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who have not heard, Bradley Bozeman retired.
I want to believe that Chargers Twitter had something to do with that.
Or what I like to believe is that he didn't retire, and they said, "Listen, brother, you're not coming back. Where are you going to play? What are you going to get paid? You have all these great foundations," which Hortiz pointed out during the combine conversation.
Yep.
Bradley Bozeman, appreciate the effort. And you listen, I don't think that it was an effort issue. It was just an inability to be a clear starting center in the NFL. When you rank 41 out of 41 centers, considering there are 32 teams, it's not a glowing recommendation to the next team that would consider to bring you on. Again, listen, these are real people, and I don't ever root for anybody to lose their jobs, especially in 2026. I have 2 jobs I completely hate. I can't stand them. My bosses both know that. But I would never wish for anybody to be unemployed in this climate. It's dangerous. It's scary out there. But the Zion Johnson thing, listen, we're not going to beat a dead horse because he's not dead yet. But I do believe that Taylor might be right. I don't know if it's going to happen as soon as Taylor thinks, but I do expect the Chargers to at least offer a lucrative deal to Zion Johnson. And a part of me believes that he will indeed sign that. And if he does, let's move to our second topic that we have in the title. We've seen the price tag on what is now free agent center, Tyler Linderbaum, formerly of the Ravens, possibly going to be a Raven again. Jesse Minter was not shy about talking about the fact that we would love to have him back. He's the best center in the league, former Chargers defensive coordinator and now head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. With the numbers being floated out there for $22 million, you don't get Zion and Linderbaum.
Nope.
So are the Chargers officially out of the Linderbaum sweepstakes, or do you think that they may try to sneak around and see what they could do?
So when it comes to Linderbaum, I think when Hortiz had emphasis on internal free agents in his presser, they're going to sign Zion, and like we just talked about, $17 to $20 million range. I think they're going to re-sign Owe, right? Owe is going to be in that ballpark as well. That's almost $40 million in cap space eaten up with 2 players.
Which is half of what they have roughly right now.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen if those 2 players are signed to go after Linderbaum. But with that being said, it's not like it's the end-all be-all. There's other options for the Chargers to explore at the center position. And at this point, anyone's better than Bradley Bozeman. So we will upgrade that position regardless.
Well, I think everybody's looking forward to that. I love that you said that. So let's kind of piggyback off of you saying, let's kind of venture into the space of they re-sign Zion and they sign him to, let's say, 17. God, it's so hard for me to say out loud.
Yeah, it's rough.
Zion 17, Owe to 20, and then they're like, we can make a move for Linderbaum. Let's not pretend that Joe Hortiz is not the king of 1 and 2 year deals worth $4 to $5 million.
That's his MO. And there's some options out there. The other big name is McGovern. He's going to get a couple-year deal, but
McGovern of Buffalo Bills. I love that option as well.
Yep. But a guy like, I think Cade Mays is out there. Cheap 1-year deal. I don't think Andre James is coming back on a 1-year deal. So we could probably put that to bed. But also there's plenty of centers in this draft too that the Chargers can go after. So I think if the Linderbaum option doesn't come to fruition, there's definitely better contingency plans than having Bradley Bozeman be your center for another year. But We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Worry about that now, folks.
Nope.
Rejoice. We don't have to sweat that. Guys, you're listening to BoltBlitz Uncut. I'm Booga Peters, joined by my host, Taylor Bloom. Also, additionally, of the Electric Edge podcast. If you have yet to check out her show on her channel, please do so. It's incredible. She's fact-based, just like she is here. She just has a little more fun here because I force it. I make her.
Well, it's easier when I have someone to talk to instead of me just talking to, the
you
wall.
Don't laugh at yourself, you're losing out, girl. If
Yeah.
I didn't laugh at me, I'm not sure anybody would appreciate my jokes in my spare time. That being said, I love what Taylor brought up. There are a lot of centers in this draft that I think would fit very appropriately, if you will, into a Mike McDaniel offense. It's Connor Lew. It's guys like one of my favorite players, top 3 favorite players in the entire draft, Brian Parker. He's going to be a 3rd round draft pick, maybe 4th round draft pick. He's played left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, and right tackle, but he's listed as a center right now. Do not allow yourselves, please, to see that as if you don't have one position, then you're not good at any of them. Then you're just able to move around and kind of fill up spaces depth. He's solid. He's from Duke. He's somebody I like. Connor Lew out of Auburn is somebody that everybody's keeping an eye on. Of course, Parker Brailsford out of Alabama, because Roll Tide, everybody pays attention to Alabama. He's not my favorite fit for this, but I think he's a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. Jake Slaughter out of Florida. Although Daniel Jeremiah, one of my favorites, he recently said that he expects Slaughter to maybe be a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick. I don't expect him to fall that far. That being said, DJ knows a lot more than I do. He's way more plugged in than I've ever been. I will say this. If Jake Slaughter gets out of the 4th round, or if he's sitting there real late in the 4th round, I wouldn't be surprised if Hortiz and company decided to make a move to kind of get in there. You talked about Logan Jones, the Iowa linemen. There are so many. I like Bo Stevens so much more than him. Now he's a guard, strictly a guard. He's probably not going to be a center anywhere. Maybe it turns out that way and makes me a liar. I really but Bo finished with a 94.1 rating when it came to the PFF college rating for offensive linemen, but nobody's talking about him. He's sitting around, depending on if you use the Athletic, PFF, or ESPN boards, he's right in that 115 to 140 range. Bo Stevens out of Iowa, he's somebody that and that's with a PH. He's somebody I would keep an eye on for sure when it comes to guard work. But back to centers, you could try to do a Bryce Foster late in the draft. A name that a lot of people are actually bringing up now, and forgive me for not saying it sooner, out of Kansas State, Sam Hecht.
Yeah.
That's a 4th, maybe, I don't know, 3rd round, 4th round guy that he has the mobility, the agility, and the functional strength to still operate in what is going to be a zone running scheme under Mike McDaniel, formerly the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Is there anybody else I'm leaving out, or do you feel pretty comfortable with all the centers we covered?
I mean, that's a long list. I know in my mock drafts, I did 4 for my last episode, and every single one at the 123rd pick, I got Yeager Burton out of Kentucky. So that's another guy. I'll keep an eye out on him, during this weekend, during the combine.
Yeah, you and me both, because I got to be honest with you. There are so many offensive linemen to keep track of, and this is a weird draft class. It's really weird. Like the front end, the 1st round, there's about, I know everybody's saying, oh, I found 15 to 16 1st round grades. I found like 10 to 12. And forgive me for, pretending to be a draft expert. But that being said, you get to the latter part of the 1st round, and then even all the way into the 2nd round, there aren't a lot of names I really like. I believe it's a perfect opportunity should the Chargers not be able to land who they want at 22. I think it's fantastic for them to have the chance to trade back, add some more picks. Yes, they have 6, but boy, 8 or 9 would be a lot better. Yep. How likely, in your opinion, is it that you think that they may try to leverage that? Should they not be able to get a Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State, at 22, or maybe there's somebody else they're eyeballing, but do you think trading back is a realistic option for the Chargers going into the 26th draft?
Yeah, I think so. And I think you and I have talked about this too. I think if their guy is not there at 22, they're going to trade back. And, when I was playing around with some mock drafts, a team that has a lot of draft picks that's on the AFC is Green Bay. So maybe that's an option. Jacksonville, we talked about that. They don't have a 1st round pick. Indy doesn't have a first round pick. So there's some options where they can move back and acquire some more picks. But I think that if their top 3 guys are not there at 22, they're moving back in the draft.
And maybe they wanted to do that last year, according to a former co-host of ours. He's no longer with us, but he thought that Omarion Hampton was not the pick, and that they just kind of scrambled and they wanted to trade back with Philly. And then Philly ended up drafting Jihad Campbell anyway out of Alabama, the linebacker. That being said, I don't know if he was too far off. It was a weird situation last year when the Chargers were on the clock, but maybe that is just via the production of the television bullshit that we got to see here. Lots of centers, lots of O-linemen. I don't know if I want to get you off topic, but is there anybody that's not on the interior O-line that you're kind of looking at or keeping an eye on when it comes to the combine?
Yeah, so in a couple of my mock drafts, I've taken Zion Young out of Missouri as an edge rusher. So I'll keep an eye on him. I know that we talked and he got some off the field issues, but I'm interested to see what numbers are put up at the combine, who really stands out. And then I think by that I'll have a better assessment as to who the Chargers should target and who's my top 3 in the first round. And if those 3 aren't there, let's move back and acquire some more picks.
A popular pick for the Chargers, in mock drafts from all the experts, if you will, is obviously Vega Ioane, but additionally, it's the Florida defensive tackle Caleb Banks, long 35-inch arms, 6'6", 330. I mean, maybe not quite 330, but big boy. But he kind of disappears in games. You see the contract that the Chargers obviously paid Tart. How likely is it, because you're seeing it in a lot of places if you're paying attention, how likely is it in your mind that the Chargers use the 22nd pick on a defensive tackle or even an edge? And then I'll tell you the edges I think they might consider.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that the Chargers take an edge rusher than a defensive tackle. I think even Hortiz had said it, that he loves edge rushers in this draft. So I think that's more likely than defensive tackle at this point, especially paying Tart $39 million. So
yeah, I love that what Kegley just brought up. Thank you, John. Appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Peter Woods out of Clemson. If it was last year, he was a top 7 to 10 pick. He kind of fell off because he's surrounded by a lot of DeMonte Capehart, TJ Parker at end. Lots of explosive athletes, and the Clemson defensive line was really underwhelming in this season. Excuse me for the burp. We are not so surprised by that, folks. Peter Woods is an interesting player for me. Should he fall to 22? I believe that Harbaugh will be very interested. We'll see what Hortiz has to say about that, but it may not matter. I do strongly, I know we're on the same page, and I hope that we can get the rest of the Bolt fam on there too. Allow me to interrupt everything we're talking about right now. For those of you who are confused about how we kind of, I don't want to say neglect the impetus that Joe Hortiz, the general manager of the Chargers, has regarding the draft or any decisions with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh took this job saying, I want full control. And then he decided that Joe Hortiz is going to be his general manager.
Yep.
Can we please keep that in mind? Don't get the
that
title.
Hierarchy doesn't matter.
It does not with Harbaugh, man.
No. Harbaugh is running the show.
Everywhere he went. Why would he come to the Chargers and say, sure, I've got Justin Herbert. Now I'd like to give up the reins to anybody but me. It just doesn't work like that. Players I'm watching at the combine, there are a lot of them, but I will just say this. It is, of course, the boring interior offensive line. Anybody who's on the defensive interior to join Tart. I like Jamari Caldwell. For those of you who paid attention, I had him in several mocks. Didn't put him on my final mock, so y'all can call me out for that because I didn't land that one. I also didn't put Omarion Hampton, my favorite player in the last year's draft class, in my final mock because I didn't think there was a fucking way he'd fall there. So for the first time in 19 years, I got 0 Chargers draft picks right. Devastatingly horrible for me. But that's something I'll wear as a badge of courage, if you will, because it's hard to put mock drafts out there, and I can't wait for you to do yours and make your final one.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to grill you.
It'll be soon. It'll be soon.
No, don't do your final yet. Don't do it.
I'm not giving you a date when, but it'll be soon.
So I feel pretty set on mine too. That being said, I think it's because I want them to play on my team in Madden. It just feels like great fits everywhere, and I really like the idea of adding speed to the offense. And we'll segue into that if you don't mind. This Mike McDaniel offense, Trey Harris, not a speedster. Add McConkey, he can run. Probably the wide receiver one moving forward, as far as I'm concerned. And I look forward to the opportunity for him to be showcased as that. I'm sure he does as well.
Mhm.
Considering it was very disappointing in losing a lot of targets and shit to
Yeah.
Keenan Allen and anybody else that was in the wide receiving core. Zachariah Branch, Brennan Thompson a little bit later in the draft. This needs to be a team that has an infusion of speed. How much would you agree or disagree with that?
No, I definitely agree with that. You look at the offenses that Mike McDaniel ran in Miami; they always had a lot of speed with Tyreek Hill. So I think that you're going to need that speed guy in this offense. And it's excluding the draft. One guy that I've thought that the Chargers may go after for agency is Rashid Shaheed from Seattle. Perfect speed guy. You can use him in special teams. We talked that if you're giving him a big contract, you probably won't, but he does have that flexibility to play both those positions.
Well, to piggyback off of what Taylor said, my contention is if you do sign Rashid Shaheed to a big deal, regardless of what team you are, it doesn't matter how great he is as a returner. You're going to have to pay out the ass for him. So I'm not sure that you're going to use him in a return type capacity. That being said, when it's the end of the year and the playoffs and whatever, I want my best and most explosive player back there. Rashid Shaheed, ooh, I like it. Speaking of Madden, yeah, he was pretty nice during the playoff run. Those of you pay attention. Most of you don't, because I'm way too old to play Madden, but I still do because it helps me remember the players' names and heights and weights and all the bullshit.
We need to play Madden together.
I'm not sure you want that, girl. I'm actually pretty good. I'm not top 100 or anything weird, but I beat a lot of the young kids, and then when they say something mean, I'm just like, I hope you're okay. Is there anything I could do? If you need anybody to talk to, if you knew how many kids I talk to, Madden is just a game. Listen to your parents. It's not just here at home; it's online as well. Because for those of you who are not aware, the online space when it comes to video games is about the most toxic place you can be, even more than social media because it's just on your console. I've had so many people call me the worst name, worst things. And you just smile and you're just like, oh, shoot, man, I'm not sure I was ever like that. But if I was, God, I'm so glad I'm not any longer. We're going to move on from that. You're doing a lot of great things over at the Electric Edge podcast. What was your last show about? And I already know, but tell all the fans out there and tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, so I did my mock drafts in my last episode. I did, I think, a total of 4. I did a couple. 2 didn't trade my first round pick, so I had 5 total picks. In two
At the
the
time.
draft. Yes, to the drafts, and then my final 2, I did trade my first round pick. I traded one with Green Bay, and the other one with Jacksonville to acquire some more picks. So that's fun to do. And if you want to watch the episode, you could search on YouTube, Electric Edge Podcast. If you want to listen to it, or you can watch to Spotify and Apple Podcast. Search Electric Edge Podcast, and my face will pop up.
And she's worth it. If you guys have yet to listen to her show, it's an incredible show. It's not an accident that she's here being a part of what we do at BoltBlitz. We try to do our best to bring on the best people, despite the fact that Bert Grossman is a Monday host. But, we deal with his bullshit. But no, seriously, and without joking and all that bullshit, if you're not checking out the Electric Edge podcast with Taylor Bloom, you're doing yourself a disservice. She really is stat-based, fact-based, and I think that's a little different than everybody else. There's a lot of conjecture. I love you, Kegley. Yeah, hey, good. Then mission accomplished, because she's a little bit prettier than I am. I got to shave or something. I don't know. I did shave today, by the way, even the neck. I never do that for this show, but we have Taylor on here. I got to try to hold up to everything she's doing on that special show on the Electric Edge podcast, if I have not mentioned it enough. Taylor, anything to say on your way out, or is there anything we missed that you really want to bring up?
Let's see. Well, if you didn't watch the Pat McAfee interview today with McDaniel, Harbaugh, and Hortiz, it was great. Go on YouTube and watch it. It's like 15 minutes long. And just listening to the three of them interact, especially Harbaugh and McDaniel, the pressers next year are just going to be off the charts. So I am so excited for that to get started.
How unsurprised were you that Hortiz was the most quiet of the group?
Not surprised at all. He if you're gonna put pecking order, he's number 3 with that group.
It's so weird, but you're so right. So okay, you set me up so often. I appreciate you for that. Mike McDaniel, he is number 2 because the defense, they feel all right about it. They have I don't want to say Minter clone, and he may be even better as far as there's a chance, by the way. For those of you who don't know where Chris O'Leary was last year, he was at Western Michigan University, where I met my ex-wife as a singer at seminar at music camp. This one time at music camp. Not band camp.
I was at band camp.
Any instruments anywhere. Well, anyway, that's nobody's business. We're in instruments. You didn't play music out of them. I'll just leave it at that. But he's coming over from Western Michigan, where he took a 100 double-digit defense to 9th in the entire nation. That's a big deal. If you're concerned about Chris O'Leary being the defensive coordinator of the Chargers in this upcoming season as a replacement for Jesse Minter, I think you're wrong. And I think you really need to look into the fact that the Chargers have started to do this, and a lot of NFL teams have, where they send guys out. Well, they let guys go, if you will. I don't know if you let them go, but you see guys go to the collegiate ranks, and then they get to call plays and do different things that they didn't get to do at the NFL level. And the next thing you know, they excel. Jesse Minter is one of those guys. Mm-hmm. Look how that turned out for him. He's now the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. I'd say he did all right. For those of you who do not know how well Jesse Minter did as a top 10 defense for 2 years in a row, scoring wise, he was just too desirable, and there was no way they could keep him. I will let all the fans out there know, and this is not on the record or off the record or whatever the fuck you want to say. Chargers tried their best to keep Jesse Minter. It just did not work out. We talked about the fact during the McAfee interview that Hortiz was quiet. Harbaugh, loud. McDaniel, I mean, all he could do was talk about the people in the Ring of Honor and what he's excited about. But what was interesting to me is McDaniel was really clear about, like, we're ready to add some speed. I think that's exciting for the Chargers. He didn't quite say it in that regard, but I don't know that any playmaker or offensive weapon, regardless of the round, is off the table for the Chargers. How often we talked about Hortiz being 3rd in line, which is really going to piss people off. But I mean, when it comes to McDaniel and how much speed he needs for that offense, I mean, you expect him to have a really high impetus on what they're trying to do offensively.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. I think it was Hortiz that said it. Basically, that he's going to ask his coaching staff, "What do you guys need as far as players?" And he's going to try to execute on it. So Mike McDaniel is going to make it very clear as to what his top priorities are in free agency and the draft, and Hortiz is there to execute. And it falls in line perfectly that he is 3rd in that pecking order.
I think it's safe to say he's going into his 3rd year as a general manager, and he did say during the combine press conference, before I GM'd, I had never GM'd. Great point, I think. Yeah. But I will say this: Harbaugh's done this before. He's built organizations from the ground up, whether that's USD at the University of San Diego, Stanford. I mean, he was obviously the recruiter there. And then you know what he did with San Francisco, taking them to a Super Bowl, despite the fact that they lost to his brother, John Harbaugh, of the then Baltimore Ravens. Now he's obviously the head coach of the New York Giants, which is interesting. You really have the Harbaugh brothers on each coast.
Yeah.
LA, New York, Jim and John. I see what you're doing, Roger Goodell. Nice work, man. It's playing out the way you wanted it to. How cute. You fucking prima donna. But anyway, hey, I love it. March 11th, we'll decide who we get in the draft. So let's do that, Taylor. This is easy. And then March 11th needs to get here. Yes. It's not Willie. It's David, by the way. That's David Shaw. That's our boy Shaw. I always call him Shaw because that's my dude. Everybody has a nickname here, like Kegs, who we're about to put up there as well. These mock drafts and all the bullshit that I like to do and have fun to, I don't know, confuse myself and eat up time. They're
They are fun.
They're irrelevant until after free agency.
Yeah.
I get that. But damn it, for an old guy like me, I'm not sure there's a better way to learn the players, the height, the weight, the speed, and all the bullshit and the write-ups that Football Sports Network, Pro Football Focus, ESPN, The Athletic. There are so many different draft simulators out there that it's a little too enticing for an old guy like me to kind of jump in there and just have a little fun in his spare time. I know you're doing a lot of mocks right now, but I'll save that for your show on the Electric Edge podcast. That being said, once we do reach the aforementioned date that both Kegley and David brought up, Mr. Shaw, the entire BoltBlitz group will be putting out mock drafts, and we're just going to do them blind, and we're going to let the fans decide whose they like the best.
That's fair.
I don't lose very often when we do this, but I haven't done this in a long time, so I'm really excited. And I kind of want to close off the show with this. I kind of like a 32-minute show. Before I end it, I would like you to tell everybody again where they can find you on the Electric Edge podcast and anywhere else you're doing things and what else you're working on right now.
Yep. So if you want to listen to my show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, search Electric Edge Podcast, I'll pop up. On socials, you can follow me at Electric Edge Pod on X, TikTok, and Instagram. The Old People app, you can find me, Taylor Bloom, and add me as a friend. An episode I probably am going to start working on is a recap of everything that's going on in the combine. So Hortiz Pressers, the stuff we talked about today, what goes on over the weekend. That's probably going to be my next episode. But as the news starts ramping up, which I think it's going to as of next week, there's going to be a ton more content coming out. So,
gosh, it's almost like we're going to be competing against each other.
No.
Except you're going to beat me. I look forward to that. I want to end the show like this. Taylor, you're a treasure, and you're not just the best producer I've ever had. You're one of the best co-hosts I've ever had. And sorry, Bert, but I've had some really. Other than a few, I've had some really good co-hosts. What I want to do is I want to use this opportunity to close this show off with a statement that's been reiterated to me by my mentor, or at least one of them, the most important to me anyway, Nick Milliken. This is a no excuses season for this regime. This is a no excuse season for the Chargers. We're tired. Justin Herbert's not too young. Joe Hortiz has been around long enough. Jim Harbaugh flirted with Greg Roman as an OC too long. At what point do we just stop giving this team or this organization excuses? Hey, listen, as much as people hate Dean Spanos, Derwin James, highest paid safety for a minute. Joey Bosa, highest paid, edge for a minute. Justin Herbert, highest paid quarterback. So, and then the Bolt.
Yes.
I think we're out of the excuse that Dean Spanos is fucking cheap as fuck because he's decided for whatever reason, because he's in a new market. I don't give a fuck why he did it. I'm just glad that he has. This is a different regime, but yeah, he has good quotes all the time, by the way. Kegley. But Nick nailed it. It's no excuses. Hashtag that shit. Put it in your articles, put it on your shows. The 2026 season for the Los Angeles Chargers is a hashtag no excuses season.
Yep.
It's time.
Yep.
Protect Herbert. Give him some speed options considering who your offensive coordinator is. And let's see how this shit plays out. I'm not sure how many of you are completely fucking devastatingly tired of hearing that 10 is not a top 10 quarterback. That, his playoff experience makes him, horrible. God, a burp right there. That's horrible. It's just, for me, it's infuriating because I feel like even the dumbest of fans can see 10 throw the ball and be like, he's special.
Yep.
But his lack of playoff success with no offensive line, the only guy who could get open at all during the Texans game was Ladd, and he blew up, by the way. Nobody gives him credit for that. 2 of the 4 interceptions were not Herbert's fault. One was definitely his fault. And then he can't play defense against Jacksonville. If he could, I promise you, 6'6", number 10 would have had at least one pick playing inside linebacker against Jacksonville in that second half. You had a 27-0 lead. For those of you who don't know this, I shut the TV off and I lectured my entire family at 27-0 and said, listen, this is going to be the perfect example of no matter how certain things seem, they are never certain until it is over.
Mm-hmm.
My kids constantly bring it up. You were right, Dad. They don't really tell me I'm right very often, but they do about that. This has been a fun edition, as always, of BoltBlitz Uncut. I'm your host, joined by my other host, Taylor Bloom, who is also the host of the Electric Edge podcast. Thanks for listening to us yak for a while. It's been a blast, and I hope you guys had fun as well. Stay tuned for our combine coverage. I'll be live a lot more often than I'd like to be. Oh, here comes Richie right at the end. I'll be live a lot more often than I'd like to be during the combine. And, of course, the draft, we're going to be live a lot. I want to be begging Taylor to show up, and we'll make sure to tag the Electric Edge podcast and everything she does. But I need Kegley. I need Bert. I need all of the hosts. I need everybody. Am I leaving somebody out? No, I think that's all of them. We just got to do this. Oh, by the way, let me do this real fast. We had our first no-show, no call at all in 15 years of BoltBlitz, and that was former Chargers defensive back Desmond King. Man, I reach out to you so many times, and I'm just a goofball, I guess. But no hard feelings. My mentor, who said this Chargers season is a no excuses season, also said, hey, man, it was one time. Give him another shot. So here's your other shot. We'd love to have you on. We appreciate any chance you give us, if you will, but we're going to keep getting bigger and better. And I hope that we have the room for you when you decide that you'd like to be a part of this show. This is BoltBlitz Uncut. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, even when Twitter has a problem with that. No, Richie, we do not want Lloyd Cushenberry. Cam Ward may have been a rookie, but Cushenberry did him no favors.
His numbers are rough.
Taylor pointed him out pre-show, and I'm sorry we didn't get to that now, but I got to let her go because I got some shit I got to do too. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'm Booga Peters. Thank you for listening to BoltBlitz Uncut.